this generation, what he could be. Many suggested the best two-way player since Michael Jordan back in 2019, 2020. Then because of injuries, other national analysts have suggested he should have retired. I mean, the discussion around Kawhi Leonard has been absolutely polarizing.
Yeah.
So let's continue to add to it. What would a third title mean for Kawhi Leonard?
It certainly would remind us that he deserves to be, when healthy, in the conversation of all-time greats, which we don't talk about him at all.
Nope,
like we've moved on, right? But what's most interesting to me is not what it would do for Kawhi Leonard, but what it would do to LeBron James. Because we would be adding another player in LeBron's era that would be looking at and saying, if healthy, would he have been, as you introduced it, he the best two-way player since Michael Jordan? Like, we think about Michael Jordan, there was never a dispute when he was playing who was the greatest player in the league during his run. Nobody questioned that. That was never a debate, right? And by and large, it hasn't been a debate, but every now and then, KD bubbles up when he's winning championships, and Steph Curry bubbles up, and then you think about Kawhi Leonard, and maybe one of the biggest elements, maybe not the biggest, but one of the elements that we attribute to LeBron is that he won championships with 3 different franchises. Well, we'd have a second guy in his era that had accomplished that. And so I think that it would remind us just how good. Like 6 out of 7 years, when healthy, he was all NBA first or second team. Like he had again, when healthy, had a stretch that is as impressive as anybody. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Anytime he's been with a championship team, he's been that player. He's been the Finals MVP. It would just, like, it would restore Kawhi's image. But more interesting to me is, like, what it would do to the case that is now being made for LeBron James versus Michael Jordan.
That's a good one.
It's a really good one.
I was going to say, if I can go, I would say this is probably the best story ever in an NBA player. And let me just tell you why. Because when you talked about the healthy part, as a player, we got to add it in there. You'd be the greatest player of all time, but if you always hurt, how would we really know? And Kawhi's been hurt. I thought it was over for Kawhi, right? Going to the Olympics, and they say, you know what, we love you, but yo, you got to go, man, because you're injured. You know what I'm saying? So then when that happened, we're like, oh, my God, it might be the end for him. And now we talk about if he gets to the championship. This is what I'll say, though. So not only is he a 6-time All-NBA, 3 times first team, not only is he 6-time All-Star, not only is he a 2-time NBA champion, now he'll be 3-time if he wins this year. 2-time Finals MVP, I would say that he'd probably get the 3rd one because he'll be the best player on the court if they win. 2 times Defensive Player of the Year.
That's huge.
People forget that about Kawhi. When we talk about two-way, he's the true definition of two-way. I'm a scorer, then I'm a guard your best player. 7 times all-defense team, that's really, really big. And then the 75th all-best players in the NBA, he's on that list. But the one thing I was thinking about is, you go to Toronto, you bring your first championship to Toronto, right? I don't know if you guys been to Toronto and all that and hung out, right? Because Drake talks about it. You got to go there and really live it. Toronto's a great place to be at. You win your chip there for the first time, and then you go to LA, the Clippers,
and you win
their first championship.
Great point.
You telling me that's not one of the best storylines in basketball history? And you always been hurt, and we thought it was over for you? Man, listen, Kawhi, you get this thing done, dog, you got my vote. Best storyline of all time.
A great conversation. Kawhi Leonard wins a 3rd title. Kawhi Leonard wins a 3rd title, automatically a top 15 player of all time, and you'd be hard to dispute he's not a top 10 player based upon Jordan math. What I mean by that is if Kawhi Leonard wins a 3rd title, 3 Finals MVPs, now you're looking at a list of LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, all top 10 players. But why is Kawhi Leonard then a top 10 player, top 15 at least all time with Jordan math? Because Jordan is the best all time for those who suggest he is based upon his peak powers, not based upon the aggregation of statistics. If it was based upon the aggregation of mass statistics, it would be LeBron James by and large. But because of Jordan's peak powers, 6 for 6, no game 7s, that's why he's the best all time. So now Jordan math suggests, let's look at other athletes' peak powers. And Kawhi Leonard's peak powers would suggest he's a top 10 player of all time because at his peak powers, he had 3 NBA Finals, 3 Finals MVPs. At his peak powers, he had the fourth highest winning percentage even in the regular season all time. He just doesn't play that often. So based upon Jordan math, we assess athletes based upon their peak powers. And Kawhi Leonard's peak powers say clearly he would be a top 10 player of all time with another championship and finals MVP. That's what it suggests to me if Kawhi wins.
Yeah.
Just look at peak powers.
Yeah, I agree with everybody up here, man. All-time great, top 15 player, greatest story. Kawhi Leonard, he went to Toronto, and who was there? He won a championship, and no disrespect to Kyle Lowry and all that, but it's a lot of teams that won championships with way better number 2s and number 3s than Kawhi.
I agree with that.
Now you come out here to L.A., and I don't know if you know, but he's with an old Harden, and he's with no other All-Stars. And you come out here and you get their first championship, we gotta add greatest winner in there. He is he changes organizations and he changes it. You gotta add an all-time great winner. You go to Toronto, and that roster was not stacked. Even Fred came on very, very late. We like, oh, he came on in the playoffs, played well. But he didn't have big-time all-stars and number 2 options. And then you come out here to L.A., and with this roster right now, if you win a championship, and it's their first ever, you have James Harden in his older years, and you have Zubac, and you have Powell, who have never been all-stars. You have to start talking about Kawhi as one of those dudes, as one of the greatest winners. If he shows up on your team, you're going to win, especially when he's healthy. Kawhi Leonard is like that. You talk about two-way player. He's one of the best two-way players that we have ever seen in our game. He got the claw for a reason. He's one of the best two-way players that we have seen. If he wins this championship, it's everything. Greatest story, his top 15 player, his greatest winner. Kawhi Leonard's going to be that dude. 3 championships with 3 different organizations. That's big time.
The question's, and because we're all in agreement, if Kawhi doesn't win a chip, was the trade now seeing how well Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has materialized? If Kawhi doesn't win a chip, would it be one of the biggest misses? Because Shai is now hitting his peak powers, about to win, I believe, MVP. The Clippers had to trade Shai, another player in first-round picks, in order to acquire Paul George, because Kawhi said he wanted to play with PG. So now we're talking about one end of the spectrum, winning a chip. But if you traded away Shai, who's about to win MVP and hit the crescendo of his career and stay in his prime for God knows how long, now is it maybe one of the worst things the Clippers could have done?
Yeah, for sure. Because it doesn't change the way I look at Kawhi as a player. It certainly changes the way I look at him as a GM, like demanding that. But how much of that do I put on Kawhi? Because I don't know that if the GM had said, Kawhi, no, we're not going to do that. Trust us. Shai's going to be something. We can't give up all these picks. We can't sell the farm to get Paul George. We want you. I have to have the team somewhat culpable for that decision as well.
Has the Clippers Kawhi experience, very quickly, got to go to break, producers have told me, has the Clippers Kawhi experience thus far been a failure? It's
been a disappointment for what the expectation was. When you have Kawhi and you have Paul George, and you start there, for where the Clippers have been, no question. But if he does win another title, it will transform how we see him. Because one of the things that he took in all of this injury was how badly does he want to play? How much of a malingerer is he? If he's able to come all the way back and win a championship, then we put all that behind him.
Very well said. What up, YouTube family? Welcome to the facility. Thanks for watching, and you better be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to get more highlights from the show and all of our exclusive content.